military necessity, precautions, distinction. Those are the ones that, yes, are the 4 or 5 core principles that we have chosen. Those are the ones that we go for as the basic ones in all our instructions. And even when you look at our military manuals and our training manuals that we use for the training, we'll go for military necessity, precautions, distinctions, because we feel like in the day-to-day training activities that our soldiers have to go through, especially during the basic trainings, those are the ones that they're able to relate to and are more related to other aspects of the training. So that's why we've more chosen the selection of core norms, because we're able to also relate it with other aspects of the training. For instance, if we are going to train our soldiers on certain equipment to do with targeting, for instance, and then it's easy to relate with military necessity and with the principle of distinction. So yes, that's the way we go for it.
And that reflects actually the International Committee of the Red Crosses, the ICRC's approach to integrating training in the learning about new weapons, new equipment, to ensure that that training is not merely 45 minutes or 1 hour's tuition on law per year, but is part of that ongoing regimental discussion and the ongoing formation of soldiers and military officers. May I ask about how the principle of humanity is taught as one of those?
So, for instance, the principle of humanity, how we teach it in Zambia. One of the ways that has made it very easy for us to teach a principle like the principle of humanity is because if you look at Zambia historically, for instance, from our political system, we had a slogan, I think, in the first, probably the first 20 years of our existence. It was called humanism. And so we teach those principles like the principle of humanity based also on the philosophy that we have about dignity and respect for human beings and humanity, which has been a key philosophy. And then secondly, also we try to relate it to a few of our cultural values and norms in terms of respect for human beings and a few things that we have in the Constitution as core values, the dignity of human beings. And so that's how we obviously say, oh, we'll tell our soldiers, look, this is the battlefield. Things will happen definitely. But I mean, at the end of the day, we also have an obligation to humanity, that sense of dignity. So that is how we try to drive the point home as we treat, especially the more lower ranked soldiers and the basic soldiers. So that might not probably understand maybe the legalities around the convention. So it's been easier to teach it from that angle than merely read it out as a principle that they have to follow.
Yes, exactly. And that's in line with much of the ICRC's most recent research on the importance of continuity and shared values that can come from a constitution and can come even from human rights law and can come from domestic law. And then influence that military training in LOAC. In choosing our terminology to focus on LOAC rather than international humanitarian law, there's always this risk that there's a conduct of hostilities bias in the discussion that we have. Are lower ranks within the Defence Force also taught about the principle of humanity as it relates to those who are hors de combat and those who are in detention, for example?
Yes. I think it is taught to those, especially in relation to this to detention. I say that because that is something that is most likely to happen, especially in the Zambian scenario, looking at our current posture and maybe deployments. So, of course, the depth, I still think the depth of how we teach it when it relates, especially to those that are non-combat or in detention, probably more can be done in that regard. And I think that that's something that's completely changing to try and see how we can drill that much more. But I think that it would be taught more obviously in relation to other situations than we teach it in relation to detention currently at the moment. And that's one of the issues probably, because obviously you'll be selecting what you think is likely to happen more in the battlefield. And I think sometimes even in your instruction sometimes is informed a little bit about the experiences that your defense force has had in the past. So you might find that there's a bit of maybe not as much focus on a certain aspect of the principle as ordinarily would be on other aspects.
That does make sense, and that's in line also with mission-specific training. And training on rules of engagement that will, of course, be influenced not only by recent and past deployments, but also by the parameters and the predicted situations of those deployments.